And welcome back. The Glock is no longer stock. Dawson Precision, fiber optic front, blackout rear. Just got them on. Let's take a look at how that happened. Fair warning, there may be some weird breathing involved. I am not a professional. Let's check it out. Alright, so these are the parts that came with the Dawson Precision sights. Front sight, rear sight, little Allen wrench, and it even includes a front sight tool. If I had known that, I wouldn't have just ordered the one I did for $17, but now I'll have two. And this one's a little flimsy, but I think it's going to get the job done just fine. And some extra rods I will change. It comes with the red front sight post, and I will change that out to the green because that's what my eyes pick up better. As well, I have some ace high on hand, a sharpening stone, which I will use on the bottom of the rear sight if necessary to file a little down, a little bit of blue Loctite, and the world's cheapest rear sight tool, which I have taken the liberty of kind of pre-staging. And this thing was like 25 bucks or something on eBay. I bought it years ago, thinking, well, how often am I really going to change out rear sights? And if I'd have known, I would have stepped up and bought something a little better. But here I am with the cheap piece of shit one. So we're going to make it work today, hopefully. And we will start by finishing removing that rear sight. So I'm cranking that around. And it's coming off with very, very, very little resistance. And it is out of there. Now I'm going to go ahead and crank this all the way over, because when I put the new sight on, I'm going to push it that way. Something like that. Now, pull that out, and let's do a little pre-fitment check for the rear sight. So it's going to dovetail in like so, and usually if you can get it a quarter or even halfway on, it means you won't need to file. That does not seem to be the case here. Also, I want to make sure that this has a little screw, little retaining screw, and I want to make sure that that's up out of the way so it's not digging in. There you go, you get a view of it. I want to make sure that that's up enough that it's not causing extra resistance. And it appears, what do you know, right there. I don't know if the camera's going to pick that up. But we have an arrow right there telling me that apparently this wants to go in the other way. So let's try that instead. Yeah, it seems about the same. I'll follow their advice, which means I need to reset this. I'll be right back. Alright, so I've got things flipped around, and I've placed a little piece of, actually several layers of some tape just to prevent scratching. Now I'm going to add a little, okay, or maybe a lot of ace high. Shake that off a little bit of ace high, and let's go ahead and insert. What I want to do is line up the pusher there with the center of the sight, right where the dovetail actually is. That's probably not going to pick up on camera. And in fact, I'm going to have to take that off camera for a second. All right, we're locked in. And I will rotate until we make contact. Now I'm going to really check, make sure that I'm leveled out where I want to be in relation to the dovetail. I want this pushing bar to be right lined up with the dovetail. What I'm going to do now, I'm about halfway. I'm going to take a little tension off. And reset the whole slide into the mechanism there. Again. Okay, and I'm meeting a lot of resistance. So what I'm going to do is back it out. So I am about halfway. I'm going to try a little different approach. All right, so I'm going to cheat this a little. I've thrown the sight pusher into the vise, a little bit bigger wrench, and I'm going to muscle it on. Normally, if you were just using a sight pusher tool, you probably want to file a little bit off of that bottom. If there's any way at all you can get a sight on without doing that, I'd like to, because I have had sights where I overfiled and then they would not stay no matter what I tried to do. So let's start moving slowly as I'm getting nearer to center. That's looking pretty close. So I'm going to pull it out, give it a visual, and I'll be back in a sec. All right, so using every visual indicator that I can find, the ridge, the bevel at the top there, the two notches on either side, looking at it from the rear. As best my eyeballs can tell without having some kind of micrometer, I have found center. From this point, it's probably a matter of taking it to the range and just finding out how it actually shoots. And if I need to make some kind of micro adjustment from there, I'll deal with it later. All right, so using this extremely sophisticated measuring instrument, I can place this into this notch and measure right there. Flip it around, put it in the notch on the other side. That ought to be it. Time will tell. So next, I want to use the included little Allen wrench. Go ahead and remove the set screw. All the way. and add a little teeny tiny dab of blue Loctite. Crank it down and wipe up the mess. Looks like I also got some tape residue on there. I'll get that off later. But anyway, you get the idea. There we are. And now, let's go ahead and turn it over. And you can see if I can get that to line up with the light. There we go. Got that little screw right there. And they have sent the tool that will reach in there and secure that little guy. And this gives me no resistance. Hold that in place so it doesn't spin freely. And front sight just comes off. Screw. So now I want to take and remove the screw from the Dawson sight. Like so. I'm going to lean that on that frame so it doesn't fall out. And the way this sight wants to go on is the taller portion goes towards the rear. I guess it also makes sense that you've got an oval and an oval, and you wouldn't want that, wouldn't make any sense. So obviously it goes that way, like so. So then I'm going to turn that over. I think that'll just hover in place while I add yet another little tiny, or maybe a slightly larger dab of blue Loctite. Work it in there. Hopefully I have found, yes I did, okay. So I will get that hand snug. As hand snug as I can. And then hopefully the blue Loctite will do the rest of the magic. And again, I want a rag to police up the excess blue Loctite. And there we go. Boom. So the final piece here is going to be removing the red fiber optic. And let me see. Yeah, let me hunt around and find something to pull that out with. And I'll get back at you. All right, so I grabbed a razor blade and cut it. I'm using a paper clip to poke out what's left. Maybe. There we go. And see if I can push that one out like so. Get it all cleaned up and ready for a new rod. I will take the green rod and insert it like so. What I want to leave is about an 1/8 of an inch on either end of that front sight post. So I'm going to hold that kind of like that. Maybe even a little more than an 1/8. But we're going to go with it. Then I will take a lighter, apply a little flame. And you'll see that I can get it to focus, it just melts it down in place. Let it cool for a second. Now I'm going to press on that end as I hit the other side. Just like that. Green front sight post. Find my lens. And that's about a sight picture with my shaky hands. Just mock that up in place. And there you go. All right, and that's it. If you've ever put on sights on like an XD or an M&P, the Glock is so much easier. So I'm super pumped. I did muscle this rear sight on a little more than some people would probably feel comfortable with. But as I mentioned, as I was doing it, I've over-filed rear dovetails to where they just would not stay put. And that sucks. You're basically throwing money away. So I was willing to take a little gamble and push a little harder than I have in the past. And it came together, and I'm pretty confident that these are not going to go anywhere. So next, I just need to get them to the range and make sure I got them on square and true. So until next time, be easy, y'all.